Guys, it's part 2 of the podcast. How are you feeling since we've last left off?
I feel good. I feel like we should talk about dogs.
Where are you, Jay?
I think I'm in a basement. You're changing the lighting. It's a little hard to tell.
I just threw you a softball. You know, the correct answer to that is, David?
You are in a luxury studio experience brought to you by the people at Hasbro.
Oh my God.
I'm here for it.
Oh my God, guys.
Softballs to both of you.
I would like to point out to anyone listening that we have had. Well,
it's been a long week.
4 a.m. call times for the past 3 weeks. So we're running on humor at this point.
Humor and alcohol.
Yeah,
let's just be real.
One day this week, I just woke up at 1 a.m. and I was like, I'm ready to roll. My brain wouldn't shut off.
Should have just come over. We could have just started.
Oh no! Ooh,
that's the beauty of when you actually get the full experience when we're at the house and at the studio. We could literally wake up at 1 a.m. and somebody could be like, I got an idea. Let's go lay it down. Let's just go up to the studio. Let's do it. But we came to your house and we've had no sleepovers the entire time. So
yeah,
like we missed that experience.
There should have been bunk beds. That was in the production call sheet.
David could be on the gold couch. You seem to like to lay on the floor between Jake, so that could be your thing.
Oh, it straightens out my chi. You know, got to get the chi going.
Well, you do your chi.
Harper's all about Miss Mo, so that could have been your spot.
Thing.
Yeah, Jay's daughter loves Mo.
Loves Mo. She's gonna miss you so much.
I think I love her more, and I feel like did we just become friends? Yeah, that's so crazy that just, that just happened. Because, that's exactly what I felt like. Everything she said, I like your shoes. I was like, I like your shoes.
All right.
You want to see my dragon? I was like, fuck yeah, I want to see your dragon.
We're going to get to the dragon in a minute. But we left the last podcast episode with David asking a question.
Yeah.
What was the question?
So, Jay, you were talking about before that you've departed the fashion and editorial world and picked up portraiture, but we're really unclear of how you made that jump from what people might argue are two extremes. So you've continued to classify yourself as a fashion photographer, and you certainly incorporate a fashion element to your portraiture, but how did you make that jump from fashion editorial to portraiture?
So I started my photography in DC and then ended up going from DC to Texas to New York. And then I had my daughter. And when I had Harper...
Let's go back to Texas. Let's slow down here.
Let's go back to Texas.
Jumping decades.
Yeah.
God bless Texas.
All right.
Is that where all your exes live?
Yeah. Yep.
Just the one. Just the one.
So Texas. Let's start there. Texas.
Start there. Howdy.
Jay always fast forwards to like present day, and she does a very good job of doing it.
Yeah, she's just kind of like, there was DC, there was Austin, and now I'm here.
Whoa. Yes, let's slow it down.
Roll back that clock.
Where would you like to roll to here?
Texas, specifically.
I'm here for it. What about Texas specifically?
How did you get there?
By a plane.
So what brought you to the Lone Star State from DC? So we left off. You're in DC.
Yep.
You have kind of come to the realization that your corporate job sucks.
Yeah, it sucks.
Politics is really not the life for you. You don't really want to work in that public relations realm.
Yeah.
Working for John Wick can be really dangerous. So
Donald Trump says it's really expensive to live in New York.
So we've established that two cities are off the table. What brings you to Austin?
So my husband at the time had a job interview out there and was offered a job, and we moved. And I struggled a little bit because I really had a photography career that was blossoming in DC, but relocated
like cherry blossoms.
Only once a year.
like the cherry blossoms, Mo, just like that.
Consistent. That's what I meant.
No, that's just literally just once a year.
Oh.
So it's consistent.
It's unfortunately...
It's gorgeous is what it is. All right,
so I'm in Texas. I'm rebuilding my business. And there I really start to develop this editorial and fashion book. And I'm really starting to find my style. I'm really starting to develop my technical skills. And I refuse to shoot anything related to portraiture. I am offered, in hindsight, obscene amounts of money to shoot portraits because there's money in Texas. And
Damn right.
There's money in Texas. My stylist had people approach them saying, would Jay shoot senior portraits? Would Jay shoot portraits? My answer was hell no. If you were not represented by an agency, if you were not a model, I was not interested. Part of that was I only wanted to create artistic pieces, and that was definitely a piece of the puzzle. But truly a bigger piece of the puzzle was that I did not have the technical skills to make me confident that I could shoot anybody, anybody, in any space, in any lighting scenario, the way I could shoot a model with my creative concepts, with my creative team. That insecurity, that fear held me back for so long, and it would still hold me back. This tutorial, if I had gone into it with needing to know with 3,000% certainty that I couldn't fail, I wouldn't have done it. If any creative went into any shoot saying, if I had to know for certain that I wouldn't fail, I wouldn't do it, no one would do anything. Because that's the thing about art. You take your knowledge and you go into it with the realization that you're most likely going to get something out of it, but you don't have a guarantee. You don't. That's what creates nerves, whether you want to interpret them as anxiety or excitement or happiness or whatever else. For me, that's kind of the excitement of it, is you don't know. There is some joy in that. There's no guarantee. It could be beautiful. It could be more than you expected. It might be not quite what you expected. But so in Austin, I wasn't doing the portraiture. I was working predominantly with models and designers from Dallas, and I loved what I was doing. And then I went through a mildly traumatic divorce, and time ended up in New York. And again, I'm able to shoot editorial and fashion work. And then I end up in St. Louis. And this is fine for me. I mean, I've spent my life.
Wait, well, hold on. We just fast forwarded through New York again. Now we're back in New York?
Well, now we're in St. Louis.
No, but before that, you were
So
in New
between
York.
Austin and St. Louis is New York. How long are you in New York for?
Yeah.
Boys,
like-
you're being intrusive.
For like 18 months.
18 months.
18
so
months.
you
All right.
drop in
Would you like to talk about your time in New York?
I had a baby.
In New York.
in New York.
Her name is Harper, and she really likes Miss Mo.
Yeah, so I feel like, right?
So Harper's born in New York.
So how do we just
Yes.
skip over New York?
How did we
Even
skip
if it-
over Mike?
Yeah.
Like, more importantly,
Bring Mike into this. Mike's
Where was
your
Mike?
husband is the shit.
we love your
He's
husband.
he's like the best. Can we
He
steal
was
him one
there
night?
for it.
and can we just go ahead and maybe give him the nickname Silver Fox? Like that dude. Like, I mean, hey,
hot.
you're doing well for yourself. I'm just saying.
Thank you. Yeah, I had to fight like an 80-year-old for him.
I'm here for it.
Yeah, he's a little handsome. I like him.
All right, so
So where does Mike
yeah,
fit into the equation?
Let's talk about how.
So you go through a mildly traumatic divorce.
It was a fucking massive, awful divorce. It was terrible.
So the mildly traumatic is a massive understatement.
Yeah, it was
It's a train wreck of a divorce. And where do you get off this train?
So I end up, so my parents at this time are living in the St. Louis area. I more so like jump off of a moving train, which I've done in Budapest. I've jumped off of a moving train into a Hungarian ghetto in Budapest. So we should talk about that. I have stories.
Holy crap.
Stories. We should come back to that.
So
No, I'm
So
already
we've-
there for that. Let's go into that.
so
Hold
we've
on.
jumped off
Now we're in
Ozzy's
Hungary.
crazy train and
No,
now we're
I
in
was
St.
literally-
Louis.
Okay,
What do
which
you do-
train are we on right now?
I don't
The
know.
Hungarian
Crazy
one.
one.
The Hungarian one.
The crazy train.
We're going off the rails no matter where we are.
Are you on the side of Buda or Pest?
Buda.
All right, so you're in Buda
Okay.
and you're on a train. What got you onto that train?
Okay, so this is when I'm studying in Austria, in Österreich, and I'm traveling with a couple of my girlfriends, and we are traveling through Hungary, and we're going to Budapest to stay with one of my friend's girlfriends, and she thinks that we're nearing our train stop destination. It's been a really long train ride. She's like, I think this is it. I think
8
this is
hours,
it.
2 hours, 14 hours. Like,
I
what
think
is
I
it?
think it was like 12 hours. Like we've been on
All
the
right,
train
12
for
hours.
a really long time.
And, all
I
right, so
could
where
be
did the
wrong.
train start?
Austria.
Austria.
And we're trying to get
Budapest.
to
Okay, all
Budapest.
right, all right.
So I could be totally wrong on my hours. It was a long time. So we think we're there, and it's dark out. It's pitch black out, and she's looking out the window, can't see anything. She's like, I think we're there. So she's grabbing the bags because we're backpacking. We're backpacking for 3 weeks through Europe. So she grabs her backpack, and she's like, I think this is it. So she goes to the door, and we're like, just don't go anywhere. Like I don't think this is it. And she said, no, I think this is it. And the train stops, and we're looking at this train station, and it's like nothing. I mean, this is nothing. Like, we're supposed to be getting off at a major train station. And we're like, Caitlin, this is not it. This is not it. But as the train's picking up, she's like, no, this is it. She jumps off the train, which is already picking up speed. And we're like, okay, shit, because none of us have cell phones that are working. Like back up to like 2004. Like, just keep in mind, like back it way up. We don't have cell phones that are working right now.
How far do I have to back it?
Back it.
All the way, David.
Got you.
All
the way
damn way.
Got you.
Don't make me stand up and do the dance.
I already got you already. This is a video podcast, so everybody already saw that.
That got real unfortunate. Okay.
So you guys had like a fugitive moment where you like
there was
jumped
a
off.
fugitive situation.
Good
So
reference.
she's off the train.
Thanks.
So now the other three of us are like, either we abandon her at a literal non-stop in Hungary, or we go with her. So one at a time, as the train is picking up speed, we are jumping off of this train into what turned out to be a legitimate Hungarian ghetto where no one spoke English. There were no taxis.
So what you're saying is the first person off was the smartest person because it was going way slower when they started.
So would you rather be chasing
Waterfalls?
a train? Hold on, bear with me. Would
Don't
you
go
rather
doing
be
that.
chasing a train away from a Hungarian ghetto?
I think you should stick to the rivers and the lakes that you're used to.
I don't disagree. Okay, so you guys jump
But then
off, and
where's
you're in the
the
ghetto.
Yep.
And how far from Booty Fest are you?
It's
An
not.
hour. An hour.
From Booty Fest.
Budapest. Budapest, David. Pest. So what
I mean,
happens
I've
is,
been to Hungary on R&R. We always called it Booty Fest. So I'm just saying.
I hope your wife is listening. I really do.
My wife never listens to these podcasts. And I was a soldier for a really long time before I got married. So it's all gravy.
Next
All
week,
you
You're an
soldiers
hour
who are
away,
listening,
you're
if
on your
you
feet.
we're
You
on
don't
our
have
feet.
cell
We don't have
phones,
cell phones. There
and
are
there's
no
a
ATMs.
bag full of shit.
is anybody injured? Everybody's straight?
So one of the girls has a rolled ankle, so she's limping a little bit. But aside from that, like, we're okay. So we pick up all of our things that are like trailed along the train tracks because we're spread out at this point. Like, we did not end up off the train.
I feel like this is the opening plot of Hostel.
This legit could have ended up as the opening scene. So we end up kind of into this village. We are followed by probably a dozen people for a little while. Like, it got quite.
Did they have
uncomfortable.
pitchforks or like what? Like, what do you mean a dozen people?
Gypsies.
Oh,
Gypsies.
did you get any of their tears?
No.
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 I hear those are valuable.
Not in this scenario. So finally, we were able to get a taxi. And I am the only one who can speak enough. So he doesn't speak any English, and we don't speak any of their language, but he speaks German, and I speak enough German out of the four of us to communicate. So I'm trying to communicate to him that we are trying to get to this train station in Budapest. So he says, get into the cab. I'll take you there. So the three girls get into the back. I get into the passenger seat, and he starts driving away from all of the city lights. No cell phones, no ability to communicate with anyone, heading away for a long time from any city lights. At this point, we are all panicking. We're like, this is a hostile situation. Like, we're fucked. Like, we are going to end up on a slavery website somewhere with no ability to contact anyone. We finally end up at a train station somewhere. And we're looking at each other like, we just jumped off a moving train. What the what? There was a lot of alcohol involved that night.
And now-
Budapest has the best
So how did you
mojitos.
get out of? You found a place to stay.
So we had
They're at a
place to
train
stay
station
in the
now.
City. Like, we had a place to stay in the city. We just jumped off at the wrong train station. Sucks.
So you got off. You bought a ticket to New York. Now we're in New York,
Budapest.
and now we're in New York.
Right from
And now 18 months in New York. What's that like?
So we lived in West Hampton. So that was an interesting place because you're between Manhattan and East Hampton. So between like what you think of as New York City and the ultra glamorous like Martha Stewart's Barefoot Contessa kind of life of, the Southampton people. It was an interesting existence. And with kids, because then I had a stepson to take care of, and then I got pregnant when we were out there. So it wasn't as glamorous as my being in New York has been in the past. But I mean, you're in New York, so you can only complain, a certain amount. But then once I had Harper, literally when she was like 4 weeks old, we had the ability to move back to St. Louis. And I'd only been here for a little while because I had come, after the divorce, but where my parents were, which gave us help with the kids. And that was just invaluable because I'm not a stay-at-home mom. That's not.
Are your parents are in St. Louis?
They live 3 minutes that way. That's why we're here.
When COVID dies down, we are having
That's
a
where
cookout.
the kids are.
We're having a
That's why they're
cookout.
Not only are we having a cookout, I feel like we should have a podcast with her parents.
Yeah.
Oh, no.
Yeah, we've never had that opportunity
You've got
before.
2 parents just a mile down the road?
Yeah. That needs to happen.
We haven't heard about Papa Mayhew.
Oh, no.
What does Papa Mayhew do? He's obviously a retired soldier.
Retired Army colonel.
Okay.
I adore my parents. They are wonderful. I would not say they love what I do.
Why not? Why don't they love what you do?
Yeah, why not?
They're a little more conservative than I am with things. That's okay. We just have different views.
So they view like photography as like not a real job, or how does that
just
conservative view
It's
come
the
in?
nudity, isn't it?
Basically.
It's the nudity.
I
It's
think
the nipples. It's the nipples, isn't it, Jay?
The nipples.
It's the
Gary.
nipples.
Can you say nipples again?
Nipples Gary.
Record that. That should be.
That should be mine.
That should be his.
Nipples Gary.
We're
That should
gonna
be,
record
yeah.
that.
Gare nips.
We're done.
Gear nips.
I like nipples, Gary.
Every time gear comes up, we're just going to talk about gear nips.
I feel like
We all just have
a lot
different-
of my friends have parents that are completely opposite to their
Yes.
viewpoint. And I feel like maybe I guess I'm a zennial
Yeah.
in my mid 30s, have parents that were on the more conservative side.
Yeah.
Maybe a lot of my friends had, parents that were more Republican. I don't know where they're at now, but I mean, what do you think of like your parents obviously sound like that. Like, do you think, I don't even know where I'm going with this question.
So my parents
I don't even know
are
where
the
I'm
most
going.
Wonderful people. Like their views on just sexuality, which is really my point. Like their views on sexuality are just different on mine. So they grew up in very conservative small towns. My mom grew up in Oklahoma. My dad grew up in Michigan. So I don't mean politics at all. I just mean like they grew up in small towns, a very different life. With the military, I grew up in Germany. I grew up in the Louvre. I grew up in these castles and museums.
Yeah, and Europe tends to embrace sexuality in a totally different way.
I mean, my favorite picture as a child was, of the Venus. And, like, I have never thought of nudity as a negative thing. And so I struggled then as an older child to understand why when I grew up around this art, all of a sudden it's supposed to be a bad thing. I don't understand that. Like, it was art when I was little, and now all of a sudden I'm supposed to be ashamed of, like, so in that respect.
And your work isn't even like nudity based or.
Fashion had more of
Oh,
it
got you.
involved. Fashion would have sheer shirts or, whatever else. Like, it wasn't that
It's just like an element of sexuality.
Yeah,
That is not conservative whatsoever.
Right. And we all have our comfort levels, and I don't judge anyone. I mean, I would hope someone wouldn't judge me if I'm uncomfortable with something. And I mean, that's the thing. I think with social media, like, we're all expected to agree to the same level of something or be okay with the same level of something. Well, we're not. Life is not entirely PC. We have our different views on things. So I respect if someone isn't okay with what I do or if they think I should go farther. Like, that's fine. That's fine. I appreciate sensuality. That is how I see things. That's not entirely what they appreciate. That's fine. That's okay. But that's how I appreciate the female form.
I mean, and I think every generation is always going to experience this confliction with the generation that comes after it. This, we're always going to experience this. This was not okay, but society as a whole has grown to accept that. But a lot of times an older generation has a problem letting it go.
So
right?
what are we doing right now that our generation is going to be like, hey, what are you guys doing?
I think probably the
What are we doing
future,
right now?
the future is going to hold a lot of, there will be a female American president, for example. And I think the future is going to accept that as a matter of course, where we're still waiting for that moment of like, this is the first, you know what I mean? So like
Like Kelly Clarkson shit.
yeah. Yeah.
She knows what I'm talking about.
Yeah, I got you.
All I want to do is just think about since you've been gone, and that reference doesn't work.
A moment
So
like this, American Idol, that's what won her.
oh, that's true. Real talk.
Uh-huh.
Got you. I'm
David
feeling
just
that.
Had an aha moment.
I'm here for it.
Yeah. So, anyways, I think when the next generation, when I think about my kids growing up, I think that my children are going to look back and basically look at us and say like, dang, like you guys didn't have female leadership. You guys
Y'all
didn't
fucked
have,
up.
yeah, you hadn't figured out
but
equality
more
yet.
specifically, what is he going to say about you? Because we're all talking about, you know, parent issues and things
I don't know.
like, you know, maybe I didn't agree with like that shit. But like, what do you think? Can you put yourself in your
Yeah, I mean, first of all,
shoes 30 years from now?
I don't know. My kids are growing up with two people who think about and analyze people's thoughts and actions on a daily basis professionally. So, you know, I think everybody
He's gonna be
has.
like, Dad, why are you so judgmental?
I mean, I think everybody has a positive self-image when they close their eyes and they think of themselves. They always want to think, I'm open-minded enough to grow with this. So of course I'm going to be slightly biased of my future self, but I don't know. I think I will continue to be curious. So hopefully I won't fall into that. Like I'm so held on to these deeply held beliefs that I believe today that the future me wants to hold on to them, even the world has grown beyond it. I don't know. It's hard to predict. My kids are 2 and 4. I mean, they don't exactly have deep thoughts right now. So I don't know. I don't know where we're going to go with that.
Well, you know what we're going to do? We're going to explore that in the next podcast, which is starting
Part 3
in a few seconds.
Oh my God.
All right, guys.
Is it?
We'll see you in a moment.
Pro EDU is now unlimited. Get access to every single tutorial. Sign up at proedu.com today. I don't know about you, I'll take comfort in that. This podcast is officially over. See you next time.